Morning, everybody. We're going to be working on MORRISpree today. Just started learning that this week and really enjoying it, but I want to try and get it to 120 today. So let's see if we can do that. So what we're going to do is we're going to warm up, then we're going to stretch and massage, and then we will go all the way down to 40 beats a minute for MORRISpree. Go up by 5 clicks every single rep. And once we get to 110, we'll start going up by 1 click per rep. So that's the goal for today. But before we do that, we got to get motivated with some Shia LaBeouf. Here we go. Do it! Hey, I'm okay. Good morning on TikTok. Whoops. Don't let your dreams be dreams. Yesterday, you said tomorrow. So just do it. Make your dreams come true. Just do it. Some people dream success. Well, you're going to wake up and work hard at it. Nothing is impossible. You should get to the point where anyone else would quit. And you're not going to stop there. No, what are you waiting for? Do it. Just do it. Yes, you can. Just do it. If you're tired of starting over, stop giving up. Yeah. Nice. We are so motivated now. Thanks, Shia LaBeouf. All right, so the spree that we're going to be working on is here. So underneath the chop stuff, which is linked at the top of the screen, we've got MORRISpree. It is currently members first, so that means it's scheduled for early release. If you are a member, you don't have to pay to be a member to use the play-alongs, but I've got stuff like 158 videos, I think, currently scheduled for release every single day between now and like December. So it might be a while until RCC comes out. I think it actually is like November. So apologies, but we've got a ton of free content that's going to be coming out. But we're going to warm up first. So we've got a bunch of stuff to choose from. We could choose any of these triplet grid variations, these 16th note grid variations. We've got over 100 technique exercises now. I just added in a bunch of timing exercises. I think like 20 of them, something like that. They're towards the bottom. So there's all these swung variations, there's these 16th variations, these triplet variations. All these timing exercises and whatnot are scheduled to release. So stay tuned for that in the future. But let's go back. Okay, so what are we going to warm up with today? Let's do float drags. Yeah. Did this one the other day. This one is a fun exercise to try and play fast. So we're going to go ahead and go into the timestamps. Any one of these free play-alongs, you just go into it, and then you click whatever BPM you want, and it'll start counting you off. So, for example, 120. Jump to 130. If it ends with a 0 or a 5, it'll have this like little bit of a break so you can like get yourself set up, but all the other ones will just immediately tap off. Hey, I'm really happy to hear those helpful in some way. That video where I was like kind of providing that feedback on Flamus, I think is coming out next week. Something like that. So for everybody else who hasn't seen that stream, I condensed it so it's like a shorter video so people can like watch that specific feedback and also learn how to improve their own playing. But hopefully the Flamus play along also helps out. That's under the chop stuff. All right, let's do 140 now. So just warming up. Then we'll stretch and massage, and then we're going to work on MORRISpree. Try and speed that up. Always good to see that feedback helps in some way. Let's stick with this BPM for a little bit. Yeah, actually, if you could do me a favor, just tag me in it, like ping me in it, so that way I don't miss it, and then just like say that you give permission, because I want to be very transparent that permission is permitted when I'm giving feedback like this, because I often see drummers give unsolicited and uninformed feedback on people who aren't asking for people's opinions, and so I really want to make sure that I'm very clear. Hey, permission was actually granted. This person specifically requested it. So that'll make it so that I feel comfortable doing that. But happy to take a look at it. If I can provide some help, then I'd be happy to do so. All right, let's play it 2 more times, and then let's stretch and massage. Nice. Yeah, you're welcome. And I'm pretty sure my user is just Jared O'Leary. I don't think there's like any spaces or anything. Like I think Instagram might have like a Jared.O'Leary, or maybe it's TikTok. I don't remember, but yeah, you can find me on there. You know where I'm at. If you can't find me on there, on my website, which is linked up there, I linked to my Reddit, so you can go there. Okay, we're gonna stretch and massage now. So we're holding our palms facing up, pulling in, and then you push out, and you just hold it there. Oh, yeah. This is a good stretch. And then back the way you came. And if you do traditional, rotate and hold the one end of the rotation extreme. That feels good. Rotate and hold to the other end of the rotation extreme. But I don't do that anymore. Now we're going to stretch here. Oh, that feels so good. So 2 days ago, we did it on the wall. The lower you go, the deeper the stretch. We're going to do it on the pad today. Don't put all your weight into it. I was going to do a drum and gaming stream yesterday, but had like a contractor come over, and that ended up taking longer than I had anticipated, so didn't get a drum. Whamp, whamp. It's like getting all ready to go. And they arrived. Looking forward to playing through MORRISpree again. It's a fun exercise. I like it. Now we're going to stretch the top side of the forearm. You could do it like this. You could do it on the wall. The higher you go, the deeper the stretch. You couldn't see that like this. Okay, so the higher up stretches it. Or you could do it here, or you could even do this on your legs, like if you're playing on drum kit. Again, don't put all your weight into it. You don't want to break stuff. You want to hear what I'm thinking? Pretty cool, right? It's a neat little trick. Okay, now we're going to stretch the fingers. And now these. Index fingers tight. See if we can get some ASMR. Nope. Yeah, that's a really good way of framing that. So, instead of ASMR, instead of focusing on your own playing and whatnot, like focusing on helping other people, it can really change the way you look at drumming. Honestly, I became a better drummer as I started teaching more students. So I've taught every grade kindergarten through doctoral student, and then that's in like group settings, but also taught privately musicians as young as like 5-year-old up through like college students. And all those different experiences like make you look at something from different angles and try and explain things that you might subconsciously understand. But when you try and like put it into words or put it into your own playing to try and demonstrate some kind of a concept, it can really reinforce what it is that you are trying to explain or demonstrate. So it's a great way to actually improve your musicianship, is to actually go and teach a wide variety of students across different grade levels, different age levels, different like ability levels, etc. So I highly recommend it. But it's great that you're thinking about like going back and supporting your like former colleagues and whatnot, like students that you worked with. That's actually what I did when I graduated high school. Well, let me back up. My senior year of high school, we no longer had a battery instructor like we had the years before that. So I ended up being the section leader, center snare, and basically the instructor. And somebody else who was like the caption head, who mainly worked the pit, would like come over and give me some tips and whatnot on how to teach. But I was basically left in charge of teaching the group. And then after I graduated, I taught there for 5 years at that particular school. And it was like really great just being able to go back and like help the drumline improve and whatnot. Unfortunately, like some of the things that you might have to contend with are like the band parents will still look at you as a student or like even teachers. Like I'd be in the copy room for the teachers, and like I'd have teachers come in and be like, hey, you need to get out of here. Cause like I was like their former student. I'm like, I work here now. Thanks. I'm going to keep copying this sheet music. Thanks. But they'd get mad, or security guards and whatnot. So you might have to deal with that, especially if you look young, like if you don't have a lot of facial hair and whatnot, or, just hair in general. But, I did then. Then you will have people be like, hey, are you supposed to be here? Yes, I teach here now. Yeah, thank you. We had this conversation last week, etc. Anyways, it's fun. And then when you get to be old like me, nobody asks you that anymore. You're like, oh, I'm old. Ooh-wee. Yeah, also when like preparing, like when working with students, one of the best things that you can do when teaching a drumline is to actually ask more questions rather than give direct answers of things to work on. Even though it's more efficient in the moment for you to give direct feedback like, hey, your flam grace note spacing was a little too wide there. If instead you were to ask students, hey, what do you think about the grace note spacing in what you just played? And then like, well, I don't actually know. I wasn't actually thinking about that. And then like play through it a couple of reps and be like, okay, was it too wide? Was it just right? Or was it too closed and too flat, etc.? So if you ask questions like that, what it's going to do is it slows down your rehearsal time. But when they're at home practicing, they will continue to ask themselves questions like that. So they'll actually get better outside of rehearsal because they don't need your guidance as much as if you just sit there and like, just like teach by rote every single time. Hey, you did this wrong. Hey, you did this wrong. Hey, you did that wrong. Like that is in the long run going to slow you down than going, hey, what did you think about that? Or what about your diddle spacing right there? Or what did you think about your dynamics and your heights right here? How did your balance fit in with that person's balance, or did it not, etc.? So if you ask those kinds of questions, it'll make it so that when they go home and practice and like use these free play alongs and whatnot on the website, then they can actually improve without your assistance. Pro tip from a pro gamer. How do I help newer members with marching? Like, I don't know how to put it into words. Marching while playing. I have a lot of responses to that, but it really depends on context. So I'm trying to, like, in my head, sort through what would be most efficient or effective for a wide range of things without too much information. But that's a good question. You don't know how to put it into words. Marching while playing. Do you mean just like in general keeping your feet in time while doing it? Or do you mean like how to specifically not have your feet negatively impact your hands? Like if you're doing like a diagonal crab step, like you don't want it to screw up things. You don't think you can ask those types of questions without sounding arrogant? It depends on how you frame it. So if you just like tell them in advance, like, hey, here's what we're going to do and here's why we're going to do it this way. Like, I'm going to ask some questions to try and help you to think about what you could improve. I mean, you can give a directive and say, this thing is wrong and sound arrogant. But you could also do it in a way where you don't sound arrogant. Depends entirely on how you frame it. One of the best pieces of advice that I got from Glenn Crosby about how to teach a drumline is to not just think about what you're going to say, but how you're going to say it and when you're going to say it. Those things are probably even more important to consider than just like what. Like if you just sit there and be like, hey, snares, left hands, and you say that every single time, versus if you go, when should I specifically point out the left hand air and where, at what moment in time? So that way the snares like don't get overwhelmed or whatever section you're working with. That is more important sometimes than just like, I'm going to give feedback on every single little tick that was made. Like, hey, you did this wrong. Hey, you did that wrong. Hey, you did this wrong. That in the long run is just going to give them too many things to think about. They might get overwhelmed, especially if you're working with younger players. Rather than just like sitting back, give them a few reps to work on something, then pose a question or say, hey, this time let's focus on X, Y, or Z, etc. So important. Oh, just the feet? Okay. So here's a couple ways that you can work on like improving marking time, just like getting your feet going in time with whatever it is you're playing. One is you can actually, if you have a drum kit, you can sit down on it, arrange it so that your left foot is on the bass drum, your right foot is on the hi-hat. I know that's the opposite of what you normally do. But if you march with your step off on your left foot, you want to hear boom, chick, 1, 2, 3, 4. So you just have them actually be able to audibly play their feet so they can hear it while they just sit there with a pad and just play through whatever it is that they're working on while marking time on the bass drum. You can do it awkwardly while standing up, like on the bass drum and the hi-hat if you want to. It's a little weird doing it that way. But another way to do it is actually to just physically feel the step. So you're basically going to pound the feet down temporarily. This is not a permanent thing. So that way you can feel it through your body and through your motion. And with permission, if people are okay with it, you can pat like on the shoulder, use the back of your hand, just because consent issues and all that fun stuff, you want to avoid some issues. But you can pat with permission on the back of like their shoulder and make it so they can feel it. But if you're doing it with just the feet and you can feel the pounding in here, over time, you get them to lighten up their feet and just get to a normal mark time while doing this. But being able to internalize that pulse and have more senses actually attached to their feet, the better it's going to be in the long run. Because a lot of like early drumline players, when they first start learning how to do this, they actually don't hear or feel their feet while they're moving. So when they're like marking time to it, they might go at a completely different speed than what their hands are actually playing, because they're not actually able to process it and think about it, because they're focusing so much on like cleaning up their hands and whatnot. So if you can attach more senses to the feet while you are marking time, that'll make it so that you can improve like the feet issues that you might be getting. Good question though. Hopefully that helps. Start there, and then if you have more questions, you can come back in future streams. All right. I'm going to skip chopping out on this one. We're just going to go straight into MORRISpree, because this is going to take a little while. Since we're going up by 5s on here, woo! We're going to go all the way back down to 40 beats a minute. And again, this one is currently members first. It just means it's scheduled for release. It will come out publicly. Every play along will be free. I've got like 158 of them currently scheduled to release. A new one daily. So stay tuned. Here we go. Yeah, a lot of that is just like you'll get it over time. It's also just like there's a huge delay, by the way, on Instagram, so apologies for the slow response to comments and whatnot. But yeah, as you like play through more of something, the easier it's going to be. So it's like it's hard for me right now to play through this exercise and talk, because I'm still basically like memorizing this. I'm still sight reading this, etc. So it takes time to get used to being able to do some of the advanced movements and whatnot, or even just something simple like tracking. So you notice I have to sound more robotic when I'm playing this exercise right now. So same thing with crabbing. If you're not used to crab stepping, or you're not used to playing cheeses or whatever, you just don't have enough of your brain freed up to be able to focus on other things. And that's normal. Yeah, playing with a Met is also... So I used to teach general music. It was a K through 6th grade general music. And one of the ways that we worked on like internalizing pulse and being able to play like with a Met or whatever is we would do a lot of stuff where you would keep the beat and you do it in like funny, different, goofy ways. Like this can help you with tenor crossovers or whatever. we would have like stepping, or we'd make a spider and then we squish the spider, like all sorts of goofy stuff with that. The whole point of this was to make it so that you could actually internalize by feeling the pulse, and then we would say rhythms and whatnot with our mouths, or we would like keep the pulse by tapping while playing like recorder or playing trumpet or whatever. So all of that can help with like improving just being able to play to a metronome, is just playing with it. And again, you can also, asking for consent, tap on somebody's shoulder before, like ask for consent before you do it, but tap on somebody's shoulder with the back of your hand. So that way they can feel the pulse and do that while they're playing, and kind of like not just focus on hearing the met, but also feeling the metronome. If somebody can like make a metronome that can like do like a pulse, kind of like how your watch will like vibrate if you get a text message or something, that would also be helpful, because then you can actually like feel bzz, 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 and then you can keep time with that. But then you'll get like a bajillion steps, which is why I take my phone, my watch off, because it's like, oh, you're running right now. No, I'm just playing a roll. That's a little different. Description. Whoop. Why does it keep closing that? All right, let's go to 50. So far, it's going okay. I just gotta focus. Oops. I appreciate you stopping in and asking some good questions. Happy practicing and teaching. Let's go. Oops. Keeps doing that. Why you keep doing that? Keeps closing it. Let's go to 55. Yeah. Yeah. So it's one of those things that you just no longer pay attention to. When you use a metronome for an extended period of time, your brain just kind of like tunes it out. It's like the joke that some like couples will make about how, oh yeah, I just tuned that person out. Like, I thankfully don't do that with my wife. I love hearing her voice. But for some people, they just like are tired of hearing the same thing over and over, so they just no longer think about it. That can happen with a metronome. But these play-alongs, like one of the things that I love about these is you can hear when you're not playing good with the rest of the snare line or tenor line or whatever. And so this kind of simulates listening in, is playing through any of these like thousands of play-alongs. Whatever speed you are playing it at, you're going to hear whether you are on or off. But with a metronome, because you usually want to set it like a little bit lower than you're playing so you can make it disappear, you're actively just trying to make it so you don't hear it, and so you eventually just stop focusing on it, and that can become a problem. But it's a little bit easier with the play-alongs. A little bit. thought of a good idea. So one of the things I like to do is like write down topics and like spend some time thinking through it. And I just had one for this one. So I'm going to type that real quick. Keyboard doesn't go that far. That's fine. Groupings. What was the other thing that I was thinking of? You read a comment on an old SCV vid that if you're in time, you shouldn't be able to hear the mat. Yeah. So, that's totally accurate. One of the things that you're trying to do when you're listening in is trying to make it so that your playing disappears into the player who's on the inside of you, whether it's your interpretation, your velocity, your heights, your balance, all sorts of things that you got to listen for. It's not just like playing rhythmically in time. The great lines like focus on like, well, what's your touch? How fast is your stick moving into the head versus the other person's? Not just like what's the height at, but what is the actual speed, the velocity from moving at the same height to the next height, etc. But yeah, same thing with a metronome. So when you're practicing, if you make it disappear, it means you're playing so perfectly in time that you can't hear that like cha, that little flam sound that you would get with a metronome. Or when you're playing like one of these play-alongs, like listening into that, you want to also make this disappear. So my goal should not be to make it so that it sounds like flams the entire time, but instead sounds like one person playing, and it just happens to be playing with this play-along. But the advantage to this compared to a met is you can actually hear like the interpretation of things. So for example, the like this phrasing right here, going from the triplets into the 4 pattern, back into the triplets, and then into the 6-tuplets, like that right there, interpretation-wise, there's an advantage playing with a computer because it's always going to be rhythmically the exact same way. Whereas if you're listening in on a snare line, the person on the inside of you might be inconsistent with their playing. They might slur out their diddles. They might rush their diddles. They might not play the underlying check pattern in time, etc. So if you practice listening to something like this, then you're at least practicing with perfect interpretation. So it's a little bit easier than with a metronome where you have all this space in between each one of the beats, and what happens in between might be a little bit wonky. But if you're playing with a play-along that actually fills in all the notes, and you can hear every single one of the notes in between and get that interpretation down. But yes, that is an actual accurate thing that you should try and focus on. Another thing you can do with metronomes is set it so that you are playing half notes rather than playing like quarter notes or the subdivision, etc. And so that gets you to think about the larger grouping of time. So one of the things I'd do with a metronome with a drumline is I would like set the doctor beat so that they'd hear the quarter notes, and then I would slowly fade it out and then wait like a couple measures or sometimes a few measures, and then turn it back up a little bit, make sure that they're still in time, and then turn it back down again. So that way they're also internalizing the beat and not just 100% relying on needing to be able to hear a doctor beat to stay in time. Pro tip, hey, why'd it close? I wanted to go to 60. I think I was playing it at 55, maybe? I don't know. We could check the instant replay. Nah. That feels faster, right? Oh, that's what I was going to write. Yep. I remember. What? There it is. Okay. putting together some thoughts on memorizing music. Whoop. Whoop. 65. Here we go. We're gonna get up there. Slowly but surely. Why is it still up there? It's got the header. Oh, because the mouse. It's too high up, so it's gonna permanently show the title. Mm-hmm. 70. Wow, so fast. Too fast. Too furious. 70. By the way, if you don't want to get the membership, you don't have to. If you go back to Tuesday's stream, we play this from 40 to 80 beats a minute, one click at a time. You can practice it using that live stream. It's in my drumming playlist on the home tab of my YouTube, or linked at the top of the screen underneath the tips section. There's a playlist with all of the live streams. Or just wait until this comes out in November. Alright, 75. Going up by fives again till we get to 110, and then we'll go by ones. Boop. Wasn't that a 97 spree? It's like a Swiss drag into flam drags. Whoops. I think. Haven't played that one in a long time. Mouse was hiding from me. Thought I was a cat. I'm not. Turns out, I'm human, as far as I know. Don't really know how to prove that. Oops. Screwed up the 4 pattern. I'm sorry. Unsub. I know. I don't blame you. Boop. 85. Click. Here we go. We're getting closer. Oh, I just totally saw this. Sorry, I just saw your question on Twitch. I thought it was the multiplicity bot that was doing this. So, eye strain and work. So that is an interesting question. One thing that I do is I take breaks. So every hour I'll take a 10-minute break from working, whether it's like writing music or video editing or whatever. And so I'll take 10 minutes where I will just walk on the treadmill in the other room. And another thing that you can do is like look off in the distance. So if you have a window that you can look out, look as far as you possibly can. That'll help like take that narrow focus and like kind of widen your gaze a little bit. But just taking breaks throughout the day is absurdly helpful. Also, like not having your phone real up close to you, unless you absolutely need it, is another thing to not do. But yeah, the eye strain is definitely an issue. I've been working from home now for, has it been like 8 or 9 years? Something like that? Wow. For quite some time. And like teaching computer science stuff, and then like I'm always in front of a screen, or it was. So like a couple years, 3 years before that, I was teaching in a classroom. So it's been over a decade where I've been just constantly in front of computers, whether for the computer science stuff or for like content creation, etc. So yeah, taking breaks throughout the day can help. But another thing you can do is get the anti-glare and blue blocking glasses. So like I used to wear these when I would do evening streams. And these, I don't need prescription lenses, but these are just like basically normal glasses that have the anti-glare and the blue blocking capabilities. So at night, I'll wear them like before, a couple hours before bed, and that'll help ease some of that strain, etc. as well. So that's another way that you can do that. But my apologies, I just now saw your comment. So my bad. Good question, though. Whoop. 100%. Not 95%. Thanks, though. All right, let's go to 90. Boop. 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 Hey. Just closed it. Stop it, YouTube. Playing jokes on me. See how it is. Ew. We're almost to the point we're going to start going by ones. Almost. Not quite, though. Beep bop. 95. I'll just keep this up. Hopefully it's not too small for you if you're watching on a phone or on vertical. missed the back sticking. Oh no. Oh no. How could I? Unsub. Man, getting a lot of unsubs today. Unfortunate. It's getting brisk, baby. All right. Last rep of jumping by 5s, and then we'll go by 1s. I started reading the top line. Try it. I gotta focus. Focus. It's gonna be hard. Oh no, I read that wrong. Let's try it again. No. Rough. No, stop. Just started learning sweeps, but I have trouble doing rim ticks. Interesting question. Good question. Good question. Okay, this will give me a good mental break from playing that. We'll come back more focused. There they are. Like, where are my tenor sticks at? Okay, so there we go. Okay, so whenever there's quite a few things to think about when doing sweeps or scrapes, as they're sometimes called. You want to have the most efficient motion possible. So you're going from one edge of the drum to the other edge of the drum, rather than like center to center. It's going to be a much wider gap that you're going for. You want to have it be super efficient when you're doing this. You want to have it so that you are playing the same technique as if you're playing on one drum, and you just happen to be moving the arm over rather than like turning the wrist over to get the scrapes and the sweeps. There's two issues that you could have with doing diddles in particular while doing sweeps. Is you're either going to hit the rim on the first note or on the second note. depending on which one you get, it's going to give you some different information on what it is that you should work on. So if it's the first note, you just need to move your playing zones closer towards the center of the drum that you're playing on for the first note. So it doesn't mean move it into the center, it just means move it away from the rim just a little bit. If it's the second note, then you're not moving fast enough to get from one note to the next. So if you're hearing that second note, you need to just move more. So practice not just up and down, but also practice those quick motions from one drum to the next. So there's an exercise, which is linked on my website at the top of the screen. It's called Rebound. And so with Rebound, when you're working on this, you can specifically work on doing every single note as a sweep. So for example, you could be doing, actually, let me just pull it up. We'll come back to this in a moment. You need to get some water too. Since you're on YouTube, I'll show you on here. But if you go to the Home tab, underneath the drumming content, we've literally got over 1,000 free play-alongs on here. But underneath the technique exercises, you can actually find this exercise that I'm talking about, which apparently is going a little bit slow. We've got a ton of free technique exercises. I need some water. Sorry. I'll continue to answer your question. It's a good question. Talking a lot today. But you could work on like diddle strength, like that exercise. It would be great with sweeps, scrapes, however you want to call it. It's kind of like a regional thing, whatever word you use. But where are you at? I think it's way down at the bottom. All these ones that say member first, by the way, are scheduled to release publicly. So every single one of these play-alongs is going to be free if it's not already free right now. But this exercise called Rebound, when you play through this, you could play this for tenors, and you could work on it with sweeps, scrapes. So you could play quarter note, quarter note, quarter note, quarter note. So you're just going through here. Let me show you the top-down view. So you're just going from inside drums to outside drums. So, and I'm over-exaggerating the placements of this. You want to be more efficient than that. But going through it and playing so that you're playing 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then after, and then eighth notes, etc. You can also do it as crossovers. So the way that I have my drumline work on this is we do it on one drum as tenor players, and then we would do this with crossovers. And the goal, kind of like playing mallets, Stevens grip, 4-mallet technique, is when you're going from one chord to the next chord, is you want to move as quickly as possible, as efficiently as possible, from one note to right above the next note you're going to play, so you can go straight down with it, as opposed to going at a slicing angle, because then you're just kind of like guessing. You're like, I think I'm going to get this. So don't treat it as a flick shot. Treat it more as a snipe, where you're just like, or treat it as like dropping a bomb, where you're going straight down rather than slicing the angle. So when you're doing these crossovers, go as quickly as possible to the next drum when doing any kind of sweep with this particular exercise, and that's going to help you out with it. But there's, again, a ton of other exercises on here, like specifically in the technique stuff. There's a ton of them that you can work on. So let me show you some of them. I'm going to show you the easiest way to actually sort through all this, because like my home tab is nice and all in terms of like having this drumming header, the gaming header, the computer science header. You can just click on it and it shows you all of the playlists that are specific to that, because I create a ton of content. But the best way is to actually go to the link that's at the top of the screen, /drum on my website. This has the 53 chop exercises, all these like timing permutations. There's like 55 different charts for drum kit. There's 358 grid variations for triplet, 489 for 16th note, 114 for technique, and then there's a bunch of marching bass stuff in here. But hello, whatnot. When you're going through this, you can work on isolated double stops. You can also work on the double beat variations or any of the roll variations like this. So let me show you each one of these. So like this one, a great way to work on it is isolated diddles. And so this exercise, you're just playing right, both, left. I'm cutting in half the timing, and then you, etc. And so when you're doing this, you can work on it as a sweep or as a scrape, whether you're going outside or down the drums or inside or up the drums, however you want to call it. So you can work on that. I'm doing good. How about yourself? Thank you for asking. But another thing, let's go back down to technique, is you can work on like these 16th note roll variations, like let's say Rodeo, which is a variation on Gallop by Rennick. So you can play this one with like, I'm only going to do right hand sweeps. So you're playing through. Oh, you can't really see that on vertical. But I'm going outside down the drums through that. So play just right hand sweep or just left hand sweep. And then, okay, now I'm going to do just right hand inside. And now just left hand inside. Okay, now we're going to combine them. So we're going to do both. And now, woo, that's fun. Now we're going to do the inside version of that, etc. So you can play through those. But another thing you can work on to work on your scrapes or sweeps, again, this is under the technique exercises, are double beat variations. So if you want to work on 2 drum sweeps, do diddle strength exercise. If you want to work on 3 drum sweeps, do the 3-stroke strength. But here's the exercise in the nutshell. So you're doing about a 3-inch difference between your accents and taps on this one, which is weird, I know. But you play through, and then you play an accent on the first note, and then you play an accent on the second note. Again, only about a 3-inch difference between the accents and the taps, and you can play that as scrapes. So you're playing like the first partial on drum 1, the second partial on drum 3, and so you work on this specifically focusing on, okay, now I'm going to emphasize the second partial, or I'm going to emphasize the first partial, and so it forces your brain to think about like the placement of the first note on your drum, and then the second note, like making sure that you're efficient with it and like not hitting the rim, etc. But that is a very quick suggestion of some things to do. I will also say that if you go all the way down to the tips section, which is way at the bottom of this particular playlist has several hours of drumming tips, and there's quite a few that are specific to tenors. So you can like, let's see, where's one that stands out? I've got some that specifically talks about sweeps and scrapes. Whoa, I'm not trying to bookmark. Yeah. So 5 ways to work up your tenor sweeps or scrapes with one exercise. So check out the start of this particular video.
All the different hybrid.
Whoa, that's loud. So that first one will talk about the title. The next part of this talks about, okay, what do you do for flam accent crossovers? And then it gives you some tips on flam accents without playing a flam. Tips for moving around the drums. Blue Devil's shopping spree. Like, there's a lot of different tips in here, a collection of them. So that's another way to get several hours of advice on like how to improve your drumming. And you can find that again under the drumming playlist right here. It's this particular one. Also, you can see how I work on it. So if you go here under the drum chops, technique, and limb independence live streams, these are all of the live streams that I've done. For example, hey, it's me. So this is the widescreen version. You're on the vertical chat, it looks like. But why is it not pulling up? There we go. If you go to the actual playlist of this, and not just whatever the live video is, you can find the ones that has like a tenor in front of on the image on here, and it'll like show you like what I'm working on, like Beatlicious, or like how I practice quad logic. Like there's prior live streams that specifically show like how I'm working on stuff. I don't do tenors as much, but I need to start doing that again. But good question, and hopefully that very long-winded answer, helps you out in some way. Let's see. Let's get back to this. We're at 112, I think. And again, this spree that I'm playing is under the chop exercises, and it's members first at the moment, but it is scheduled to release publicly. I've just got like 158 videos currently scheduled to release, like all of these. But this one, MORRISpree. Okay. Let's back it up a little bit. Here we go. Thank you for the sub. Appreciate it. It's perfect. Sweet. Okay, we got just a few more clicks to go. We're almost there. And then we'll call it for today, and then we're gonna do Minecraft. We'll be back drumming tomorrow. Whoa, whoa, what was that? Alternative ending. Making the heights too distinct there. Over squeezing on that ending. Oh, screwed up the ending. All right, so last rep. This was the goal we were trying to get to. It's rough. Oh, I appreciate that, Jay. Thank you for stopping in again. Many more to come. No! Hey, it's getting better. It's getting better. We're trying to push my brain to think faster with this. Again, we just started learning this Tuesday. So, it's not great yet. All right, now let's play a shopping spree that is available right now. So far, this is the most popular shopping spree. Although my favorite is the one right above it, the 5/4 shopping spree by Velvet Knights. But this Blue Devils 99 shopping spree, this one's a good one. So with all these play-alongs, again, you can just go into the timestamps and jump to whatever BPM you want. You can start as slow as 40 beats a minute, which is where we started with MORRISpree. But click on the timestamp and then boom. It'll count you off. If it ends with a 0 or 5, gives you a little bit of a moment to get set up. That was me playing something else. Whoops! Wrong exercise. All right, let's go faster. Let's go to 140. 140. I'm gonna keep this up. You have access to this one, so you can play it at whatever screen size you want. So I'm trying to chop out here. So I'm trying to find the breaking point. It's probably going to be either this one or 160. Let's find out. Let's try it. Wish me luck. All right, that's like the tipping point. So let's go a little bit faster. The goal with this is to just train your brains and your brain and your hands to think and play a little bit faster than you currently can. Thumb came off the stick. I'm so sorry. Yikes! Well, that was the breaking point this morning. And that's okay. So this play along, if you want to stay on YouTube, that's totally cool. You just go to the drumming content. There's over 1,000 that are for free. Thank you for the sub, I appreciate it. If it says members first, that just means that it's scheduled to release publicly. I just wanted to give access because there's like literally 158 videos scheduled every single day between now and December that is going to help you out with your drumming. And since like they're there, they exist, I was like, might as well release them for free or for early access. But they will come out for free eventually. All the drumming tips from these streams, like people who ask questions, like Ethan who asked a great question, you can find in this playlist. The drumming tips, we've got a bunch of them. Literally like 7 hours of drumming tips content. And then all of the other play-alongs that I use and some of the ones that I haven't even demonstrated are here. There's a ton. Because YouTube makes it difficult to organize like the drumming, the gaming, the computer science stuff, the link that's at the top of the screen, /drum, takes you to my website where you can find everything organized much neater. So all the chop exercises right here. Scroll down a little bit more. Here's all the limb independence like exercises to practice timing variations. There's all the 55 drum charts that you can practice. There's 358 grid variations that are triplet, 489 that are 16th, 114 technique exercises, 163 marching bass exercises. I highly recommend taking a look at the splits timing for the 2 drums. That one is phenomenal to work on because it mutes one part while it plays the other and then it switches. So that way you can practice like simulating what it's like to be on the drum line. And then this tip section at the bottom has some specific lessons, as well as all of the tips from questions that were asked during stream. And then this playlist takes you again to the all of the prior live streams. So if you want to see how I practice stuff, you can do that. If you want access to MORRISpree before it releases in November publicly for free, just go to this particular one that says Learning MORRISpree. That goes from 40 all the way to 80 beats a minute. And if you look at the timestamps, it shows you what I'm working on and where on all of these. So for example, we warmed up with 16-note pyramid. I did stretch and massage. We played 16-note pyramid faster. And then we did MORRISpree from 40 to 80 beats a minute. So you can see that there. And that's how long it took. So if you want to see how I practice, you can check that out. But I'm going to call it here. I'm going to get set up for some Minecraft. And yeah, we'll be back on drumming. We should be back on tomorrow. So stay tuned for plenty more. I appreciate everybody stopping by. And great questions today. Fantastic questions. We'll turn those into some shorts that we'll share on different social media. And then turn them into longer videos that, again, we'll put in the tips section underneath this drumming tips playlist where there's 7 hours of drumming tips content currently available on there. So stay tuned for plenty more. Oh, and also, if you're curious what sticks I'm using, if you go to this link, the stick control link, here's some books that I recommend for drum kit, rudimental, concert snare. Here's the stuff that I use for drum kit, like the pedal, the low volume cymbals. Here are the pads I'm using. The sticks I'm using are the Hardeman hammers. These are extra heavy Hardeman sticks. These are about 44% heavier than a normal Hardeman stick, so they're great for working on your chops and just trying to speed up your hands and endurance and all that fun stuff. So check it out if you're interested in it. These are affiliate links, so it does help me out. So if you want to buy something like a really expensive TV, just click on one of these first and then buy the TV and I get 4% back. I appreciate everybody who's done that so far. But I'm going to call it. Thank you again, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Goodbye.